What is up, everybody? Gerry here. Welcome to the Toffee Blues USA. It's your source for all things Everton, American style with American sauce. Enjoy. All right, I'm Gerry, like I always am. Joining me today with his debut appearance here on Toffee Blues USA. Clay Trainum he's the chairperson of the Nashville Evertonians is here. He's been around American soccer and Southeast soccer for a while. So Clay, it's good to have you, man.
Yeah, can we call it my clay view?
Clayview. Okay. Can I say something? I've been like doing some light Twitter stalking on Clay. All right. Is it Clayo Wolf? I think
Yeah, I
it's
just changed it. Yeah.
yeah. Clayo Wolf.
I change it every so often. It was Claverham Lincoln. It's been Cirque du Soleil.
Oh,
My personal favorite, and anybody that from Nashville that's hearing this is rolling their eyes immediately, is Clay Miserable.
Clay Miserable. I was actually impressed with Clay La Soul. I thought
Oh,
that was pretty clever. Uh,
I came up with that like 10, 15 years, whenever Twitter first came out in college, and whenever it hit me, I was just like, I'm locking this up on every platform.
no, those are good. I know one of my our Twitter buds, Pete, he's always like doing the wordplay. He calls it hashtag wanky wordplay, and I'm just sitting there thinking Pete Needham's gonna love Clay, man. He's
Yeah,
gonna love this.
anything that has a long A in it is gonna get at some point I'm gonna put my hands on it.
So anyway, but just so everybody knows, he's not just Mr. Wordplay with his name. He's the chairperson of the Nashville Evertonians, actually based out of Murfreesboro, which is just outside Nashville. How far away do you think?
Yeah, it's becoming a Nashville suburb. Nashville grows by about 100 people a day for the
Yeah.
last like 5 or 6 years, and so we're about we're based in Nashville, like we are pubs in Nashville. I live in Murfreesboro. It's about a 35, 40 minute drive for me on
Right on.
match days, which isn't too bad, except this weekend it's terrible because it means that I'm leaving the house before 6 a.m.
We're gonna have to. We've got a similar question about that in the mailbag about Americans and viewing Premier League and sleep schedules. So put a pin in that one and remember for later because I'm very curious. Just some basic questions for you. How are you an Everton supporter? How did this happen?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Like it started maybe not quite 15 years ago,
Mhm.
but you're sitting there trying to figure out which team you're drawn to, and you're watching things. I always tell people, like, I don't go out and try and recruit people for the most part. There are some people I do, but for the most part I'm like, watch some games, do some
Yeah,
reading. Like, if something speaks to you, if it's not Everton, that's fine, but
yeah.
it should be Everton. Well, over the course of that, um, I found out that I had a really close tie to the club, which is
Mhm.
that the University of Evansville, and again, the people that are watching this in Nashville are already rolling their eyes because I reference Evansville a lot. Their best ever player and their all-time leading scorer was David Weir, and this is actually an old eighth Evansville soccer shirt I'm wearing right now. And Weir led Evansville to a national semifinal. And to those watching that don't understand, college soccer, Evansville's a school of 2,000 people, and this is like an insane achievement.
Mhm.
And they were really good in that time span. So I'm sitting here reading, and I'm like, well, I don't really have a choice at this point. I grew up going to Evansville soccer camp, and here's this guy who's the captain of Everton, and so that was like the final nail, on becoming an Evertonian. But truthfully, I was already headed in that direction before I found that out, but
Mhm.
that just kind of sealed the deal.
Yeah. I find it interesting that both of us grew up going to soccer camps and having our favorite, like, at soccer colleges that are nearby, that are small D1 colleges, not big, but somehow ended up with good programs. And I find it interesting psychologically, the fact that we're both Everton supporters. I find that interesting. It's, you know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's not necessarily cheering, not necessarily going with the most obvious choice all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
and I feel like Everton's one of those clubs too, where if you look hard enough, there's going to be a tie. Like it just
yeah,
they've been around, so long and so much longer than some other teams, and you start to like peel back layers here and there. You're like, okay, well, this guy was connected to this guy who runs back to Everton, and like it's
yeah.
sort of that way. And so I feel like if you're looking for a tie to Everton, you're probably going to find one more often than not, just because of the way they're around. So like, I guess in that way, it's not totally surprising.
So we've had a first here on Toffee Blues USA. Clay, unintentionally, but possibly very purposefully, calls Everton Kevin Bacon. Just saying, it just
Well, so
happened.
it's funny. It's funny because you don't know that you're hitting on this. So we have a game here in Nashville, like,
Yeah.
and this is directly related to this, called Six Degrees of Aces Soccer, and it is how like you name a player,
Uh,
and we used to do this on road trips with Nashville Soccer Club, where someone would name a player, and I'd have to try and get that back. It's actually from a podcast, which was like it was called the oh God, what is it? Uh, Oh man, it was a Simpsons reference, but it was a soccer podcast.
don't say it's a Simpsons. I'll just give you like five of them, and they'll all be wrong. So
Yeah,
don't
it's
give
a
me that
Simpsons
opening.
soccer reference, and it's totally like, uh, get ready for some soccer or something like that.
Yeah, no, I remember the episode because I
Yeah,
remember, yeah, because everyone ends up being really bored watching it. It's
yeah.
sort of
So
jacked
it's
up.
that, and they played Six Degrees of Rochester Rhinos. And so I was joking because someone was saying like I was doing that, unintentionally with Evansville, and I was like, if you gave me enough time, I could probably do that with Evansville men's soccer because there's enough little like
Oh,
claws out
jeez.
there,
Yeah.
um, and it was really funny at the time because at the time Nashville had just hired the old Evansville head coach as their technical director. And so like it was really easy because all I had to do was get to him. But yeah, like it's like a full on, like you mentioned, like this Kevin Bacon thing, like it's a
Yeah.
legit running joke here in Nashville, like in our supporters group and whatnot.
So really quick, your Nashville Evertonians. I watched a video you did, and it was put out there. You said you've got a new pub this season. What is it
Undefeated.
called? There's a called undefeated. Oh, the
No,
pub is undefeated itself. Yes.
no, it's actually uh it's kind of funny when you think about it because lost is in the word, but the new pub is the Lost Patty.
Hmm.
And so we didn't have any sort of like regular meeting place
Right.
for years and years and years and years. Like there weren't a ton of us, and it just kind of fell out of the routine. And then I moved back here about 3 years ago, and after about a year, I was like, I'm tired of this nomad stuff. Is anyone interested? And because we would go to whatever team we were playing,
Hmm.
and I didn't I don't like that, but it didn't totally bother me except for the Liverpool match because I refused to watch that match around Liverpool fans. But so I tried to see if there was enough interest, and so last year I'm still looking for a bar because the thing about Nashville is that we've got some weird alcohol rules in the city. And so there's not really this out and out soccer bar that's just always open in
Right.
comparison to, say, like Atlanta, where like half a dozen bars you can go to at 6 in the morning and they're going to have the game. But
It sounds like your laws are a lot more like our laws, and Atlanta is a little bit more like other places in the world.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's just it's already built into some of these bars that even on their Sundays where they have a little tighter liquor laws, it's not that big a deal because they're already in the
Right.
routine of opening up and then waiting for when the clock hits, whatever time it hits, and then they can just put out drinks.
Right.
So here we have a similar rules, and there's just nobody that's ever really tried to have an out and or I can't say nobody, but for a while there hadn't been an out and out soccer bar. So it got to the first weekend and I was like, all right, well, I'll find somewhere. Manchester United has a bar at the Franklin Abbey. It actually used to be a United Liverpool bar, which just sounds like a nightmare. But
That's ugh.
but
Ooh.
I there's issues that were caused there, and I won't touch them. But I'll just say Liverpool left, and so they didn't have another group there. And so, but I knew the folks there. And so I just sent them a like, hey, I got like 15, 16 people that want to be at the first match. Will you guys be open for us so we can just meet there?
Yeah.
And to Franklin Abbey's eminent credit, like they came to me after the match and they were just like, if you want us to be a bar, like we'll be your bar. And I was like, well, I don't know if I can guarantee, 10, 15 people. Like I want to be able to say before I call somewhere a home bar that no matter what's going on, the bar is going to be open.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you can't have 10 or 15 more people until you have 5 or 6. And I was like, I've been telling this to bar owners across Nashville for a year. And they were totally down with it. And so
Nice.
it was great. They put some of our stuff up on the wall. It was awesome. But then in true Nashville fashion, and this happens everywhere, ownership of the bar changed. We were actually in Franklin, so we didn't have to deal with it as much as we had some more stable ownership. But other Premier League groups are moving every 2 or 3 years
Right.
because it's a bar going city, and so different investors come in and leave,
Yeah.
and so it was going pretty well. But then COVID hits, they got an offer, they sold the bar, and so we were kind of it was a little worrisome because that was like a week or two before the season started. And fortunately, Lost Patty was open, and I'd actually reached out to them before United did, but both us and United ended up at Lost Patty, so we stayed together, uh,
Wow.
which is a little rough when the two teams are playing. But we both hate Liverpool, so for the most part we all get along.
Yeah.
And it's been great. It's been great. They're
Cool.
hopefully they'll get our stuff up at some point, but honestly, they can leave it all down as long as Everton's winning every game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Jeez, that's awesome, man. I mean, it sounds like you're pretty. I don't know. I admire the fact that you take the reins on a situation like that, and you know what I mean. Like, it's something that I've never been great at. Is just saying, hey, I want a place to gather and connect with my people, and to watch again and to reach out and like, yeah, that's awesome, man.
Well, like we're trying to do things a little bit different. And you mentioned the video. I'm not sure how much made it into the final video and how much didn't, but like we obviously this is an Everton podcast, so everyone here thinks that Everton is special and different than everyone else. It's just the way it works, and every club
Hmm.
feels the same way. But I do feel like there is a community focus with the
Hmm.
club. And I don't mean that as in like a community Everton in the community, which is part of that, but like there's a genuine like fan driven community.
Hmm.
Family is like it's an overused cliche, but like there is that. So the idea was we had 100 some odd people in this Facebook group, so there's clearly enough people to get to
Yeah.
out to the pub, but we had to do a few things to make it worthwhile to them. One, we had to be open every week, and
Right.
so that was my first goal. Two, we had to make it worthwhile to come out there. We had to make sure that people were going to be there, that they were going to feel included. So last year we go and we buy T-shirts and we buy our first run of scarves and
Nice.
all that stuff. And we got to the point where we had a core group that I could depend on, and then
Hmm.
always get a few more people in addition to that. And so now this year was kind of the next step. And it's unfortunate that we had to move pubs like right at the start of the year, and that's where we started this whole like premium member sort of setup, which I it's such a like stupid phrase, like premium member or whatever, but I didn't want people to feel that they couldn't be an Evertonian unless they bought a membership.
Right.
Membership was just a way of giving us, some money to do stuff with, but also like to me, it's a way of measuring someone's like engagement level. So
Hmm.
like if you give me $25 and I take that $25 to do this thing, more than likely you're going to want to be involved in this thing.
True.
Like it's great you get the scarf. We actually do, and this is part of that. We actually do our little, our little membership card.
Nice.
Let's get a better angle on that. So, so like you want to feel, you're gonna naturally feel more involved, even if you weren't originally and you didn't have plans and you just wanted the scarf. Like there's that draw to it,
Yeah, of
and
course.
so it's kind of a theory. We've had good numbers, but the team's winning, so it'll be a real test on the people's involvement if that ever stops, and we hope it never stops. But it's it's kind of trying to test that out, and we like we're going to do a jersey giveaway for the Liverpool match where everyone who bought a membership is already in the drawing, and
Right.
then we're going to sell entries on match day, and we're going to do something like that every month. Like we're doing a giveaway every single month that
Nice.
the money from the memberships goes towards. But like I've talked with, we have all of these Everton group leads that are working together, and there's only a few of us that charge membership fees. And like my dad is, member of a German social club back home, the Germanium,
Hmm.
or like my grandfather was in the Eagles and, whatever. And like these sort of social clubs are kind of a big thing in America. Like I want folks to feel that sort of draw,
Yeah.
not just we're going to go watch the match, but like these are my fellow,
Right.
Evertonians, and we all carry the same card and we have our stupid
Hmm.
traditions or whatever. And then that makes me feel more engaged, which in turn could bring rest of my family in or could make me feel more connected to the team on TV that I may never see in person. So like that's kind of the whole idea that started last year and trying to build on it and make it a bigger
Yeah.
thing that is different from what other supporters like, and I don't mean other Everton supporters groups, I mean other like Premier League supporters groups do. Like what can we do that's different from them so that people go, I'm looking for a club, but they look like there's something
Right.
different going on there, and that's what I want.
So this is really fascinating information because and you've kind of gone into an interesting area here talking about kind of the philosophy behind how your supporters group is run, and it's something we haven't really gone into very often. And I think that is fascinating. I love it because there's going to be people out there who are thinking, well, I'd like to start a supporters group in, I don't know, Booger Hollow, wherever you live. You may want to, and to be able to hear these kinds of viewpoints and get ideas is always a good thing.
And the thing for me is that it's scalable. Like
Yeah.
if I have 100 members next year, then I can do more cool stuff, or I know a lot of people, this is where it's a little bit more controversial. A lot of people take their excess money and put that going towards like Everton in the community, which is great. I've no
Right.
problem with that. But like I want to take that money and put it into my group or into
Hmm.
our local things so that we can make our group bigger so that a year from now I can give a more substantial amount of money to something that we want to do,
Right.
as opposed to kicking off $100 or $200 here and there, which I am not judging them on that. Like I don't want
Right.
anyone to take that wrong, but like, but if I had a group of 10 people, that's 10 people, you know, depending on what I would charge, but let's say $25, it's still $250 that
Hmm.
maybe that's not enough to do scarves for 10 people because no one will do a run of scarves for 10 people. But you can do shirts, you can
Yeah.
do, and and that's kind of the model that I think people in smaller areas can think about. Like, well, anybody can find 5 or 6 friends, hopefully, and
Hmm.
like those 5 or 6 friends can find a couple more people, and suddenly you've got your own little group. It only
Yeah.
takes 10 people to be officially recognized by the club. So, Like there's ways of doing that no matter how small you are, no matter how big you are. And that was kind of the idea, because when we started, I didn't know how many people were going to sign up.
Right.
I hoped that 25 people would sign up. And fortunately, like, I'm almost sold out of everything, and that's around 50, and my goal was 40.
Yeah.
So like, so that's the hope, is that, next year it'll be 60 or 70, and the year after that it'll be like 100.
Do you think Nashville getting an MLS franchise has? Do you think it's about the same amount of support for the sport in the city, or do you think it's getting people more interested in the sport and they're getting more interested in Premier League as well? Or I mean, because you've been in the Nashville soccer scene for a while, the Tennessee
Yeah,
soccer scene for a while.
yeah. I'm pretty involved with the MLS stuff, and before that, the USL stuff. Uh, I'm going to go ahead and plug this while I'm here. Pharmaceutical Soccer. It's on 1025 The Game in Nashville. It's also on every podcast. And then I run Nashville Soccer Archive, which is a historical website.
I've
But
gone to that though, by the way.
oh, thank you.
I checked out and read some of the stories on
Fun
there.
fun fact: Nashville Diamonds, first club in history. They were called the worst ever professional team by a guy named by Rodney Marsh, who Americans will recognize, and English people, but he's on Sirius Radio every day.
Uh-huh.
Rodney Marsh was the coach of the Carolina Lightning, and Carolina lost that first game to Nashville 2-0. And then Nashville won one more game before the end of the season, where they won via forfeit. They went like 3-21-4. They were awful, awful. Nashville Soccer Archive is the only website on the internet that has all that information. That was a lot of time, but
I was gonna say, if you haven't figured out, everybody, Clay is a sports historian, and he's bringing the deep cuts.
yeah, that was a weird tangent. But as far as like Everton and fitting into the local scene here, you can't say it's hurt.
Right.
I do think in a lot of ways these are operating in two different worlds.
Right. I
Uh,
believe that.
I think that the Premier League groups, for the most part, there are certain clubs that don't feel like supporting local soccer, and I'll leave it at that. For the most part, uh, all of our members are very involved.
Right.
And one of the things that was going to be really cool that we were going to do is we were going to have Nashville Evertonian like tailgates at NSC matches.
Yeah.
And I would say, of our like active members, over half of them are season ticket holders for the local team. And so we were going to be like, going out there and, have all our blue and the game. And then right before we go in, switch into this like weird color of yellow that we call gold, and then go in and support the local team. So you can't say that they're not intertwined on some
Right.
level, but I do feel like there's a divide there that hopefully, we'll see. I think interest in the sport is pretty high. I think interest in the sport has been high, but it hasn't necessarily been um, in communities that were watching Premier League matches.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting thing because you see this I think in every city. Like, there's people that aren't going to support the local team, whether it's USL or MLS or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so the hope is that the general interest in the sport will lead people to look for a Premier League team. But
Right.
we're also in the Southeast. Like, people are going to be interested in the sport because they say Nashville on their shirt, and they'll go watch that game, and then they'll go back to caring about University of Tennessee or
Mm-hmm.
Alabama or Vanderbilt in theory. Um, but at Middle Tennessee, where I work, MTSU,
Yeah.
yeah, go Blue. But the I think that there's a little bit of a divide. I know a lot of people that are Nashville SC fans that have no interest in selecting or following a Premier League team. That
Wow.
NSC, they got their designated part of the year, and then they go into Titan season and Preds season. Preds is the hockey team,
Hockey team, yeah.
and then it's back into NSC. And
Yeah.
so it's very much, as weird as it is, though, it's very much a hockey city first. Like the Preds run everything around here.
Really? Didn't see that coming.
Oh man, like it's
Wow.
nuts. After they made that Stanley Cup run, like I mean, it's the Titans. Now that the Titans they're playing right now, but now that the Titans have been decent the last few years, they're starting to reclaim
Yeah.
that level that they held. But no, you're going to see more Pred stuff in town than anything. I mean, college sports is a different story, but like you're going to see more Pred stuff in town than basically anything else.
Right on. Uh, okay. Wow, didn't see that coming. That's crazy. Tell you what, I'm gonna get to some more of your Everton knowledge and your Everton opinions and your experiences on that later, because I want to go ahead and sink into everything, and then maybe as a transition, because you just have a lot of cool stories I want to get into.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
but So anyway, we will, just so everybody knows the way this is going to work, we're going to talk a little bit of international soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. But it's not going to be exactly what you would expect. I guess it's more of our opinions on international football, soccer. I want to talk about that. I'm going to go into the mailbag. We have some interesting questions. One really made my brow furrow. So trust me, I'm so psyched to see Clay's reaction to the question that Shogun underscore 1993 has provided us with here. Trust me, buddy, it's different. And we're gonna do a Derby preview. Got to talk about that. Just a little, just a little match happening this weekend. No big deal. So just playing some fifth place team, right? So,
Yeah.
whatever. So anyway, let's move on. Let's talk. That's an awful toss, Gerry. International football. So, got a question for you, man. And you talked a little bit earlier about your favorite team, or your local Nashville. If they were playing against a big team, you probably wouldn't want it to happen because you'd be worried. It'd be a game that wouldn't really affect your team much, and it would be good for the status, but maybe not really good for the logic of it, good for the functionality of it. So think about bringing that kind of thought into international break. We've got players like Pickford, DCL, James, Gerry, these players that are starters going out and playing for the international teams, right? And one of them, rumored to have been injured already, Gerry apparently has some discomfort. And it's
Yeah.
funny when you read all the translations, for some reason it says she has discomfort in her whatever. It's just kind of funny because they're lost in translation. But yeah, so Gerry possibly injured for this weekend because of international football. And I got to be honest, personally, dude, whenever I see our people like DCL getting his first gig for England, I'm like, yes, he deserved it a long time ago. How was Solanke getting those and he's not? Thank you. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, oh, don't get hurt. Please wrap them in bubble wrap. Do not let them play, let them score, get them out now, right? What's your vibes on that? And then I want to talk about Evertonians England opinions.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, especially if it's like a friendly. Alex Iwobi's not like the most important player to Everton, but he's playing in a friendly with Nigeria. And it's just like the one thing I'm more worried about than injuries is COVID.
Oh,
And so like
yeah, that's a huge concern. How did I
yeah,
not bring that up?
so I know that not everyone who's watching this is an MLS fan, but like Raul Rui Diaz is a massive player for Seattle
Yes,
Sounders.
for Seattle, yeah.
Seattle didn't want to let him go to go down to, I think he's with Peru.
Yes.
But they didn't want to let him go because the season's going on because MLS didn't take a break because they're a weird league and that's just the way it is. And so he goes down there and he gets COVID in Peru. So now he has to quarantine in Peru and then quarantine when he gets back. So they're going to lose him for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so, guy picks up an injury, it is what it is. Like, um, U.S. national team fans can identify with this. U.S. teams have seen players get bad injuries and then they aren't there for the national team. So they had sort of the inverse of that
Yep.
as American fans. But like, it reminds me, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago? It seemed like every time Everton sends someone to the Irish national team, whether it's McCarthy or Coleman or whoever, they always came back hurt.
Yeah.
And it was always this thing
I
between Roy
remember.
Keane when he was the assistant for Ireland and Koeman, and they were just yelling at each other via press conference clips. And it's just like they always came back hurt.
Yeah.
And so I feel like Everton has a history of this. Now you hope. I've seen some people say the Yerry Mina thing was more precautionary.
And it did
Fortunately,
not say, he just said discomfort, and they said we were, so it could be just, and that's it. He felt
and
weird. Yeah.
and if he's the only one that comes back hurt, I feel pretty good. They just signed another center back. 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago that'd been bad, but like it's not as bad right now. I just want James to come back healthy because everyone knows his history, and obviously Richarlison starting 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whenever that was. I was very worried about Richarlison not being available
Yeah.
this weekend. So he's starting tonight, and they're playing, I guess, right now, I'd assume. So that's a good sign, but also like sub him off like 5 minutes into the game and
Yeah.
send him back to England. But
Please.
it's it's weird. Like I feel like Americans maybe have a different view on the international break than some other places. We're not playing right now, so it doesn't matter because
That's right.
country's on fire. But and metaphorically and in some cases literally.
Yeah.
But like for a lot of us over here, the national team was our on ramp to the sport, like to following the sport. And so the national team has this like over importance to a lot of American fans, and we wouldn't. And so like we like an international side is really really important. But then
Yeah.
like to a lot of Evertonians, the especially the we're Scouts not English variety, like no international breaks ever. So it's it's a weird thing. I will say this, like I used to hate when it go to international break because it always felt like it came at a bad time.
Yeah.
Like every time it's just like if it is the precise wrong time to go to international break, like when your team's won however many games in a row, that's when it's gonna hit.
Yep.
So I'm just I think for all of us, we just took a deep breath and we're just holding it in until everyone gets back to Liverpool.
Yeah. I remember doing some shows with Terry, Max, Paul. I'm trying to remember who else. It was a group of guys. David was maybe when David Hughes was doing stuff with us too, and we had a conversation about World Cup and about Pickford's playing the World Cup, and I was like, so you guys must be psyched. Y'all are doing great, and they were kind of like, yeah, we're all right.
Yeah.
and I'm just sitting there thinking, I was ecstatic watching. I cheered like hell when Pickford's making those saves. Against Colombia of all the teams. Who knew? It's like we'd end up with a couple of those players. But it's interesting. When we had a conversation about it, and one of the things they were talking about is it's sort of like the English national team has sort of like continually like disrespected Everton by not selecting our players over and over and over again. And other clubs would get, lesser players are getting selected and getting caps just because they happen to be from that club and they may not even be in form. And and it seemed like there was a divide between some Everton supporters, and I don't mean to say all, but some Everton supporters and the English national team. And I think some people got ticked off when they were saying England's number one. for Pickford, like at the Everton games. Or saying some people were like, "What is that?" And at first I didn't understand it. I was like, "What's? I don't understand." He is, right? But then when you start learning more about like the bad vibes, the stuff that's not completely like, "Hey, let's go team go" kind of thing. It's just not that mentality based on years and years of like history, right?
Well, and it's not just soccer related either, or football related for
There's
you.
that. There's that.
Yeah. So there's it's what's to paraphrase a saying from when I was growing up. It's deeper than rap. So it's it, I from the outside looking in, I'm just a dude from Indiana, but like I feel like there's it's a multifaceted
Oh yeah,
thing, specifically with people in Liverpool,
yeah.
but generally between Everton and England and representing England and so on and so forth.
It was really interesting to learn about that though, because it's cool because usually Toffee Blues guys, there's, when one of our guys does something great, they'll message me and Jacob, and be like, "Hey, check out this U.S. national," and I'm like, "Yes, I love that guy." The fact that they're talking Pulisic with me, I'm just like, "Yeah, it'd be great if he wasn't playing for Chelsea." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And now I have to hate everything he does.
Yeah.
So, but it's just it's just interesting that it's they don't really, they're not arsed about watching every game.
Yeah.
And our national team plays, I'm like, I try to watch it. It's just a different attitude
Yeah.
toward it.
I I don't know. It's for me it's more about the players than it is about the team. And honestly, like the US national team is kind of that point with me too.
Uh-huh.
Um, Not because of anything they do. There's a specific type of US fan that
Mhm.
drives me nuts, and it makes it sometimes hard to to go all in. But yeah, it's wild. Like this is a really cool time to be a fan. It's not the first time. A lot of people in the U.S. only started following the national team in 2014, and it sort of irks me. This is not the first time the U.S. has had a bunch of players playing for big clubs. It's not the
Yeah.
first time it's happened, but it is still nonetheless cool. Like to
Mhm.
see these guys from all over the world that are, playing for clubs that are huge, and none of them are playing for clubs bigger than Everton, so it doesn't really matter.
It's also
So
it's also cool that we can actually watch them too, though. That is another thing that is cool about now is, number one, I rarely have to miss any Everton game for any reason, which is awesome. But if I want to watch, Weston McKennie when he was playing for Schalke, I could watch almost every Bundesliga game I wanted to, which is
yeah,
awesome. I want to watch Werder Bremen, you know, I can do it. I can watch all these young American players in these leagues, which is neat. I didn't used to be able to do that as much now, or as I used
yeah.
to.
They've made it a whole lot more expensive over here in the U.S. the last couple of years to do it, but
We're
at
gonna
the
have
end
to
of the
talk about
day,
that too, dude. Got to
at the
talk
end of the
about that.
day, we can watch not only Everton more than a lot of English Everton fans. We
Hmm.
can watch the entire Premier League way easier than most people in England, and it's that way with the Bundesliga. It's that way with La Liga. It's that way with Ligue 1, and
Yeah,
you know everybody. Like it's crazy. It's Serie A, obviously.
yeah.
So it it's a really it used to be when it would get to Saturday or Sunday, and I'm trying to track,
Hmm.
how the Americans are doing when I was a little more invested in that. Like I could sit down and I'd be like, okay, this game, this game, this game, this game, and then I'm
Yeah.
done. Now, like if I wanted to do that, I would have to have DVR, I'd have to have multiple monitors, I'd have to have like all this set up, and there's no way I can do it. And that part is really kind of cool. In addition to like a lot of them that are playing either near the end of their career or near the beginning of their career here in
Hmm.
MLS. So it's like it's hard. It's exhausting to try and see how everyone's doing. So it's much weirder job for the folks with the national setup.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah. When I heard DCL got the call up, I was pretty excited. I
Oh, I
was
was
I
over
was
the moon.
excited for him. You read that post that his dad made, and you're like, now I'm cutting onions. Oh,
Well, in
it's
the
so
the
good.
he's rocking the flat cap, and he said
Yeah,
he
yeah,
said it's his grandfather's because the big day. Like
yeah,
for me, it's less about England, like cool, whatever. But as a fan, I'm a fan of his.
hmm
I have a joke with another person around here who's not an Evertonian that we're the DCL hive because she's a massive DCL fan. But like, I know how much it meant to him,
yeah,
and I'm a fan of his. So therefore, it's awesome that he made the
yeah,
team.
yeah,
But like that, the fact that he made it, I guess, doesn't matter as much as knowing that it meant a lot to him.
yeah. And I got to be honest, I do watch a heck of a lot less international football when the U.S. national team is not playing. I realized I watched very little this past week, very little. So yeah, and I was pissed there was no Everton. Right now, when we're in a good streak, don't take that away, you heartless
Yeah.
jerks.
Well, it's funny. Like, it's hard for me to watch, these sorts of games that are spread out. But
Yeah.
like when the U.S. isn't playing in a major tournament, unfortunately, like the last World Cup, that World Cup was so much fun to watch because I had no stress. No
That
matter
was a
what happened,
you're right. That was a different type of feeling. You're right. But that
like,
was World Cup and those games had like some impact. Like this past week, I was just like, meh,
well,
you
like
know?
when the U.S. is playing in that, like, even when they're not playing, like it's existential dread on the days between
Yeah,
matches.
that's fair. That is
So
fair.
like there's like whatever. Like I hope Pickford does well. I hope I had a joke with a buddy of mine, like, who are you rooting for in the World Cup? Everton. So Senegal, England,
Yep.
like
Yep.
like whatever. But I still would much rather the US be in it. But man, there was some level of stress free watching that was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. So anyway, to sum up, if you have to do this or this to international soccer, you got to go one or the other. What are you doing?
This right now, this in the summer.
That's not fair. I got to be honest, as my personal thing, I've always just said this because it's really interesting. I like to see the different identities of players for their countries and the personalities of their countries on the field. I do like that. I do
You
think
get these
right now
cool
though,
like geopolitical stories too, like
yeah,
with the whole like Switzerland when they beat Albania and the guy who scored was the Kosovoan, like
yeah,
I'm not gonna say his name because he plays for Liverpool, but like you get these like weird geopolitical stories, and that part's kind of interesting to me.
yeah. But you're right about and I'm saying all this just in general, regardless of COVID, because I right now I'm like, why are we doing that when COVID's going on? So I have to, yeah. But overall, I have to do this. It's my personality. I feel like on the whole, I do like the idea of international soccer. I do. It just happens. But yeah. Anyway, okay. Moving on. Mailbag. We've got some questions from Twitter and a few from Reddit. Uh,
Okay.
we have to start. Let's see here. Let's start with Paul's question. Paul McAllister, as I always say, he's one half of the brothers McAllister. He comes on. He contributes to the Toffee Blues often, and he's usually coming through with a really good question every single week. So this week is no exception. Clay, if there's one player that played for Everton, he didn't see play, but you wish you had based on all the brilliant stuff that other Evertonians have told you about, who would it be? Now, Paul's was Peter Reid. He said he'd love to see Peter Reid running our title winning midfield. But who's your answer?
Yeah, that's a good shout. I mean, anybody from whenever the team was actually winning would be great. Um, the obvious one is Dixie Dean, of course, but
Right.
But for me, and this is kind of fitting considering all the Hummel stuff that's been going on this year,
Mm,
is, I want to see Alan Ball.
nice.
Like, like I don't have any sort of frame of reference other than, things I've seen and like heard people say. There's not really a whole lot I've been able to see. So, like, I want to see that. I want to see the Holy Trinity, like, as they
Hmm.
played, instead of as a statue or
Yeah.
on British Pathé clips or whatever. Like, so, everybody from the 80s team would probably count. I mean, I'm gonna go with that with one, obviously being in the US, being an MLS fan, I never got to see Adrian Heath as a player, and he was on those
Oh,
teams. And
yeah.
he's coached now in the league. He's coached in
Yeah.
America for a long time, so that would be a cool one as well.
Yeah, it would. Uh, I having had Tony on from the Chicago Evertonians and the EFC Fans Forum, he talked up Graham Sharp a lot. On his recommendation, I went and watched some YouTube, and holy crap, the roar that this he evoked from some of those crazy volleys and these
The
one-touch
one against
finishes.
Liverpool is
That's yes. Oh,
legendary.
holy God. I went back, and so yeah, that's the one I really wish I'd seen in person. Just hearing the crowd, the fact that there's no way he should be finishing these, and he is. That's my answer. And also it comes on a highly recommended from Tony on that one. So I'm going to say Graham Sharp on that one. Um,
And he does media, so there you go.
nice. So, okay, Reddit questions. You ready for these?
Yep.
So, uh, do a little bit more rapid fire. Fall to dude, I don't know how to pronounce that, says, who was better for us, Lennon or Bilya Letdinov?
Ooh, that's a, I am. This is entirely incorrect, but I love Denny Arbelya-Letinov. That dude scored bangers, and he had a fun name to say.
Yes, yeah.
But but uh, but yeah, I don't know that he was a better player. But but I'll tell you what, some of those goals. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my guy.
Nice.
Like, you know,
Oh,
those Moyes Everton teams, right? Like, there's not a ton of quality for some of them. Like,
yeah.
they were fun to watch because they were scrappy and they were hard to
Yeah.
beat. But like some of those guys, like what Dennis
The
Stracklursi,
Strack. I knew you were going to
yeah,
go with the Strack.
yeah, feed the Strack. Like the dude's not a great player at all, but you still gotta love him. So I'm gonna go with Billy Leginov, knowing that it's probably incorrect.
I am going to go with Aaron Lennon because he's the one I've seen more of. I've seen him play more, and I feel like it would be really uh, insincere for me to go, oh, let me say the one that has a cooler name that is more of a cult figure in the
Yeah,
club. You know what I mean? I just can't.
Aaron Lennon, Billy Leginov doesn't have the memes.
It's true.
Aaron Lennon had the sad memes.
The angry, the
Yeah,
angry, so mad. Oh, yeah, yeah, that mad face. It was a good one. Uh, Plus, the more I got to know about Aaron Lennon, he just seems like a super class guy.
yeah.
So,
I
anyway,
I hate Tottenham, so
all right. So here's one that you have to answer, and I cannot because you have been to Goodison. What year did you go to Goodison?
I went Boxing Day in 2013. It was the first trip.
What was the game?
It's depressing as hell. So in my first game, Everton hadn't lost a home game in a year. They were playing 20th in the table, Sunderland. It was scheduled strategically, and Tim Howard got a red card.
I remember this.
Uh, like 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, whatever it was. I feel like it gets closer to being in every passing year. But and Everton like dominated the game, a man
They
down.
dominated it with a man down.
Yeah,
Yes, I
but they
remember this
lost one
game.
nil. And
You were at that.
Yeah, that was my first game. I was very, very upset. It was cool. Like, it's still good, like I still was there, but um,
You
I
know what
had
I'm
to
doing? You know what I'm doing
rearrange.
right now? I'm giving you a hug
I
through the
appreciate.
computer because I am so sorry.
I think the guy
That's
from the Utah group has gone over like 3 or 4 times and hasn't seen him score. It's something crazy.
oh, that game. That was one of the most frustrating games I've ever seen in my life. I mean, what
That was
hair
awesome.
I'm missing, I pulled out on that day. It's
Well,
just,
so I
oh,
mentioned this
awful.
earlier before we were recording, but that was part of a longer trip that was like
Yeah,
9 games in 16 days. And so originally I was going to be going a few days later
yeah.
to Arsenal at Newcastle.
Hmm.
And because I was trying to see a lot of places, and I'd spent a week in Liverpool, and I kind of did everything I wanted to do. I would like to go to more matches, but I didn't know if I'd ever go over again. So I was
Huh.
originally going to see Arsenal at Newcastle
Yeah.
with a buddy of mine who's an Arsenal fan, and I completely threw it off the table. Not going to. I did not go all the way to not see Everton score a goal, and so I came back a few days later, and that was Southampton at Everton, which was a great game. And
Hmm.
Seamus Coleman scored one of his best goals. The Swansea goal was probably his best goal, but this was right there with it
Yeah.
from a really tight angle. And then Lukaku scored the winner, and then I actually, it's probably a kid's thing to most people in Liverpool, but I got to meet both of them after the game.
Okay, I would have geeked out over that too, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I got a
okay.
photo with them, whatever. And so I was very happy that I made that decision
Yeah.
because I got to see a win, I got to see 2 goals, and I actually got to meet the goal scorers. So like maybe losing to Sunderland was sort of all right. Now,
Hmm.
if you remember, we were in the mix for top 4 until the last month of the season, so
Yeah.
those 3 points surely could have helped.
Yes, it would have.
But at the same time, hey, it is what it is.
Okay, well, that's actually one of the reasons why I asked you to, because I was hoping that would prompt that story. So, accomplished. All right, so, but Wargeep, I don't know how to say that. Because you've been there, what's the most popular pie on the Gladys?
Oh, I'm not going to be able to answer that one. I don't know.
You don't know? You didn't
I
have a pie?
honestly like I don't. We talked about this. I don't drink,
Uh-huh.
and like I'm so locked into the sights and sounds that like I
You don't
wasn't
pie
going.
either?
No,
No pie?
no.
Oh man. Okay, so
You
you know,
have to remember like
I was so hoping that you could fill that void on that one because I was just gonna have to BS my way through it and go, apple. It's apple pie. It's everybody's favorite.
I feel bad I didn't do it, but like there's a lot going through my mind. I'm there by myself, like I'm trying to figure things out. I didn't feel like waiting in a concession line my
No,
only
hey,
potential time.
to this particular question, Toffee Blues John was like, "Well, we'll be talking to two American guys, so I don't know if we're gonna get much feedback on that one." I was so crossing my fingers that you would have an answer. So, so the answer, War Goop, is apple. It's apple pie. There you go. Uh, uh, it's probably something more like beef. I don't know. It's so. Uh, I gotta save one for the last. So, Mellows OSRS has asked, how hard is it for American Toffees to watch games live? Do you have to reschedule your sleeping habits prior to the game? So, in the Eastern Standard Time, I am fortunate that the earliest a game could possibly be in the morning is 7:30, as it is this Saturday.
You can get a couple 7 a.m.s on Sundays.
Oh, that's right. There's every once in a while. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Um, but usually it's about 10 a.m. on Saturdays on an average. That's the typical time for most games, which I guess is 3 p.m. for British folks. I haven't had to mess around a lot with my sleeping schedule, but the people in like the Midwest and the people on the West Coast, I mean, for them, that 7:30 time in California is going to be like what, 4:30? Is that right? That sucks.
Yeah.
That's awful. I'm sorry.
It's not great. It's not
California
great.
folks.
I'm a little bit of an early riser, but I'm a not an early get out of bed person. If that
Mm,
makes sense. I'm always up.
mm,
But now that I run this group, I make all of them. So it's rough. The part that sucks for me is whether it was Franklin Abbey or whether it's the new place,
hmm.
Lost Patty. Like I still have a 40-minute drive there.
Right.
So I usually joke that it's dark and early. Like
Yeah.
let's go. It's dark and early. It's so I'm leaving the house at a lot of times 5:30.
Yeah, because you're in a different scenario because you're driving a ways to get there. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
different.
so the 6:30 is actually feels a lot earlier to me personally. Like my alarm for Saturday is going to be set for probably 4:30, 4:45 because I'll get
Mm.
up and get ready for the day and then drive in because I'm
I
not
take
coming back taking a nap because like I'll either be really depressed or unbelievably happy. So like either way, I'm not going to sleep.
Yeah. Dude, I 4 a.m. last time I saw 4 a.m. one of my boys was like an infant crying in the middle of the night. I
Well,
don't remember 4 a.m. It was
the last
awful.
World Cup, the last World Cup, I am a massive Tim Cahill fan. Like, and
That was
you know,
another
it's
question I was going to prompt, so I'm glad you
yeah,
got to it. Yeah.
he's playing in his last World Cup. Like, I want to watch him. I want to watch Australia. I have, we talked about it off air, but I worked in college sports for a long time. I have like Australian athletes I used to cover, and so I want to watch. And then Australia is playing France at the last World Cup at 5 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
And I was able to convince Franklin Abbey to open up early, but that meant I had to be up at 3 in order to be there. In order to get up and get going. And then that was the first of 4 games, so I was up. But man,
Hmm.
those I don't know how the folks in California do it because that one off time when I had to be there at 5 in the morning, it was hard. And I
Yeah.
can't imagine doing it, every few weeks.
Um, One other thing, there's a different thing to mention about how hard it is for Americans to watch games live. Uh, you need a basic, or not a basic, you need a cable provider of some form to watch NBC Sports, to watch a lot of them. Then, to watch the ones that aren't televised, you need Peacock, because that's an NBC affiliate that basically it's the app version that allows you to watch the games that aren't televised. And they're putting more of those games on Peacock to make you buy Peacock right now. So that's a monthly rate. ESPN Plus if you want FA Cup and League Cup matches. And if for some reason you're like, I just care about Champions or Europa League, CBS All Access.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we've gone backwards because I used to buy Fox Soccer when that was a thing, which
Yeah.
is now Fox Sports 2.
Yep.
And when NBC first got the package, it was every single game was on cable.
It was amazing. You just
It
had to
was,
go with these added channels they put there, and you're like, oh, I'm not on the main channel, but I'm on this other channel. It's
but
really
then they'd
easy,
do
right?
games on like if there were a bunch of big games, there'd be games on USA, there'd be games on CNBC, there'd be games on NBC proper,
Yep.
and I get what they're doing. I will give them credit. I will take Peacock over this. People don't agree with this, but I don't understand how. I'll take Peacock over NBC Sports Gold every day of the week because I can get a bunch of TV. I'm big. I love this TV show Psych, so I can get all of Psych
Oh,
plus.
AP Bio's on there too.
Yeah,
AP
plus
Bio's a
all
good
of the.
show.
So whatever. It costs the same as Gold, so I'm not going to
Uh-huh.
complain about that too much. Everyone's got a login for cable, uh, and and then ESPN Plus. Now this is the one thing that that I really like. ESPN Plus has like half of Europe, so like
Yes. And a lot of smaller American teams.
Yeah,
as
all the
well.
USL, League One, and Championship.
College
Uh,
games. Yeah.
yeah,
A lot of
the
soccer.
college games are a big deal to me and
Yeah,
you as
me
well.
too.
But
Yeah.
like, so I don't I don't have too many problems with it because I don't buy cable, so
Yeah.
I can get most of the games paying. I do have CBS All Access because I was watching NWSL on that over the summer as well, so I just kept
Hmm.
that active. But so that's what, but all together, you're looking at 5, 10, $20 a month maybe. So
Yeah.
it's better than paying £15 for a one pay-per-view game like they're doing
Yeah.
to fans in England. I'll
That's
say
one of the
that.
reasons. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to mention this is because I've seen on Twitter a lot of people are asking questions and talking about this pay-per-view nonsense that they're doing. It's kind of just disrespectful to the fans. But yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of the way they do it here. But honestly, I just don't like missing a game, and I don't like crappy streams. They irritate me to no end when I'm sitting there and it's pausing every 3 seconds. So
Well,
yeah,
the thing that sucks about Peacock is they rolled it out before they were on every app.
yeah.
So like you couldn't use Peacock on Amazon. You couldn't use it on
I can't use it on my Roku player. It's not. They don't have a agreement.
breaking news. Apparently, Richarlison just scored and then got subbed off for Everton.
What? What?
Yeah,
What?
the Brazilian player Everton. So
Oh, oh, nice. I was like, hold on, I'm so confused.
yeah,
Yes. Beautiful,
sorry,
beautiful,
but
beautiful.
like it was on it before every app. I didn't know it because I have Apple TV, so I was
Yeah,
like, Peacock's great. Like I don't have any issues with it. And then I got to the pub and I couldn't
yeah.
get it to work on Chromecast and I couldn't get it to work on Amazon. And so we just did some workaround that may or may not, is what it is. But but now it's all square and we're all good. But it's one of those things like why would you roll that out before you're ready?
Yeah,
It just makes people hate your service.
yeah, yeah. It was anyway. I'm the way they're getting you all locked into Peacock. I don't mind. I'm glad there's some value with it, but still, it's sometimes you got to do the workarounds. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. Say no more. All right. So,
Yeah.
uh, so that's okay. Well, there's one last mailbag question. Enjoy this one from Shogun underscore 1993. Shag, Mary, Kill, Richarlison, DCL, or James? And James. Good luck to you on this one, sir.
Well, this is an
If you're
awkward one
just
to
tuning in, that's
answer.
a stunned silence that Clay is getting.
Well, I mean, it's just like I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Uh,
There is no expected response on this. You don't have to say, I've been trying to figure out which iteration of this. Yeah, yeah, and I don't know. Like I asked John, Toffee Blues John, I was like, hey, should I do the Shag Mary Kill question? He's like, yes, it'll be a laugh. So
uh,
yes. It's
well, uh, I don't, I don't know what to say. Like, because I don't want to kill anybody, but also like it's not really my thing. So it's like, I don't know. I'd marry DCL because I'm a DCL fan, I guess.
that's good. That's good.
Uh,
That's a start. That's a start.
you know, I'll wait to see what Richarlison thinks in the off season to decide whether or not he gets killed. If one of them's not an Everton player a year from now, it makes it very easy to
See,
me.
that's the thing. I don't like the idea of saying kill. Can we replace kill with like place in a plastic bubble so no one else can touch them?
Yeah, I
I
don't
feel
know.
like I feel like that's
I love all these guys.
yeah,
I'm gonna
but it's
marry
like
all three of them. Boom.
yeah, it's for different
Like
reasons. They all seem like they would be like great providers and
I feel like yeah, I, I feel like DCL would split the chores.
yeah. See, I feel like James would. You know what I mean?
You know,
James seems like the guy who just be like, you know what, man?
He's
I'll,
coming
ta-
from Real Madrid.
I'll take
Like,
out the
he had stuff
trash. It's
done
cool.
for him.
Oh, you think? You think he's not
Yeah.
used to it? Ah, bit of a.
DCL, he's taking his hat off when he meets the England manager.
You know who has done whatever he has to do in order to succeed? Richarlison. He's
Yes.
done every little. The guy had to sit there and take, all kinds
You
of
know,
trips to get on a club to go to trials. That dude, he'll make sure you're okay.
John Mulaney, a
Yeah.
comedian that's a great comedian,
Oh
has a
yeah.
bit about his wife fighting for him at an airport for his rights as a traveler about, Delta or whatever. Like, Richarlison is that sort of dude. Richarlison's going to fight for you.
Yeah.
So I could see it. I'm marrying all three, and I'm not answering the other two. We're done.
Okay. All right. It is an out. I will say.
Yeah, you convinced me that I shouldn't do the kill thing, so
Yeah.
we'll just leave it at that.
Here's the only problem with putting all three of them in a plastic bubble is they can't play for Everton anymore.
Yeah, it's hard to pass to each other in a plastic bubble.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's You're sort of playing a lot of solo game, if you will.
Yeah, which to be fair, DCL and Richarlison had to do under Marco Silva. So, but James loses a lot of his effectiveness if you do that.
Yeah, this is a tough question. Let's see here. Honestly, I'm gonna actually answer the question, except I'm gonna change kill to place in a plastic bubble. All right. I'm gonna say Mary Richarlison. All right. I can't. I feel bad about saying shag just because I feel like it's misleading about who I am as a person. So how about give a really great big affectionate hug to to DCL, and I would put James in a bubble so no one else could have him. I
Yeah.
don't want anyone. Here's the deal. I don't want anybody else. I don't want him playing for anybody else. He's ours. I'm just going to keep him like that. Okay. So
And he
yeah,
can't get hurt that way.
yeah, that's what I mean. You know what I mean? Like let's just keep him there. No more. Good God, the goal he scored for Colombia. What the hell? He's doing
Yeah.
that just like you could have gotten hurt, man. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on. That's the end of the mailbag. I told you. You wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know what to say either. And I knew the darn question an hour before we came on. All right. So, Derby preview. So Merseyside Derby is this weekend. Everton's got a little game against the fifth place team in the Premier League. Yeah, Self-Awareness FC, Furlough FC, whatever you want to call them. They got 9 points, 3-0-1 in the old in the Premier League. Their previous two matches, they're 7-2 loss to Villa,
I was gonna
and
say, what's their goal differential right now?
I think it's flat. I think it's even.
Okay.
Really do think it's even. That's why they're so far down. It's goal diff. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And before their 7-2 loss to Villa, they lost on pens to Arsenal in the cup. I don't see any need to go back any further on their schedule to check how they've done on their fixture list. Predicted lineup. I'm still a little hazy about if the I don't know, the human sieve Adrian is going to play or not, or if it's going to be Allison. I feel like Allison's out still.
Allison's out. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were trying to get Jack Butland from Stoke, but I haven't followed up on that. I've slept instead.
Yeah, that's you know what, you're not missing out. I had to actually go to real actual Liverpool sites to get this information, and I died a little on the inside. I had to do some meditation, bring myself back. It's a terrible place to be. I wouldn't recommend going there. Just saying.
I've been to Anfield.
Oh hell, Christ.
Actually, funny story. I did the tour there because
Uh,
I'm never going to be there again. And they said, "Is anyone here a Liverpool fan?" And everyone except me raised their hand. And they said, and the tour guide said, "Who do you cheer for?" And I said, "I'm an Evertonian." And She goes, "Why are you here?" And I said, "I had to see the place where Everton won their first league title." and, and that's the reason I'm here.
Nice.
And
Nice.
and she didn't much care for that,
Of
but
course
it is what
not.
it is.
Well, yeah, geez, that's crazy. I mean, you got to say something there. You better
Yeah.
have an answer if you're there. So Adrian, hopefully starting, throwing some in the net for us. That would be great. Alexander Arnold. Matip, I think, is actually healthy for this one. So you'll either see Gomez or Matip, I think, in there pairing with Van Dijk. Um, Robertson on the left. Midfield three, I'm not sure. I think Thiago may actually be almost ready or nearly there.
Yeah, he should be clear of COVID,
Yeah.
unless he's had like leftovers or whatever. But he should have
COVID
cleared the
leftovers.
protocol.
So you could see Henderson, Fabinho, and Thiago, or you could see Wijnaldum in there as well. Um, and then your three up front, probably going to be Salah, Firmino, and I think Mane is back from his quarantine as well. So, uh, you know, two goal scorers and a defensive striker. Um, yeah. So there's those. Y'all could also could see Diego Jota come in. Good little player, honestly. And
Grew up an Everton fan.
yeah, I saw that. I saw that. So that's the thing. I kid a lot about our rivals, but they got a good team. They're good. They were really good last year. Whatever. You know what I mean?
I refuse to say anything positive about Liverpool.
Yeah. You know what? That's cool. I think that's a good way to be. Um, I I think we look good right now, though. I think we
Yeah,
look good right
this
now, and I'm really, and I realize I don't know. I'm not afraid the way some people have been in the past. No, no,
I
that's ridiculous going into a derby.
uh, having been burned from positivity so many times in the past, I do not feel comfortable because I never feel comfortable, and I never will until we get one over. Like
Didn't
it's been 10
necessarily
years.
say comfortable, by the way. Said
Yeah,
afraid. It's it's a little different. I think if
yeah.
you're going in, I think you go into every match, you better be a little nervous,
Well,
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, like this. So when I say I've been burned in the past, I mean literally last year. You see that the Liverpool lineup they throw out there, but then Everton goes and loses to teenagers.
Yep.
There's some mental block when they see those jerseys that they just can't seem to get out of their own way,
It was
and
it was a thing. It used
and
to be
so
a thing, right?
the hope is that the personality has changed
Mm-hmm.
and that they go into these games feeling a little bit different than maybe they have in the past.
Right.
And I think it's reasonable to say that it's changed a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
the last time these two teams played, Everton arguably should have won. I
Yeah.
mean, Everton had the best chances. It's just scoreless draw at Goodison because it almost
Mm-hmm.
always is, except for a couple occasions when it's not. But there's reasonable amount of confidence based off of that game under Carlo and with some of these players, and then with the players who haven't been around. James Rodriguez doesn't give a damn about Liverpool. Like he played at Real Madrid, he played at Bayern Munich, he played in Champions League. Like going to Anfield doesn't mean anything to him. So you hope that comes with the type of personality change that we've seen from Everton this year. They hadn't beaten Tottenham in what was that, 8 years?
Yeah, it's
I
been a
mean,
while.
that streak was almost as long as Liverpool's, and who knows the last time they won at Tottenham.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they were able to get that one over, you
Mm-hmm.
know, shows that it's a different team. And so I make the joke a lot of times. It's not entirely true because we do have a few people that have been around a while that I'm the only person in the Nashville group that's ever seen Everton beat Liverpool. And it's it's mostly true. Like it's been
Uh-huh.
that long. Like I don't know how
Jeez.
many times I'll go into a match saying we're due, but it's one of those things that drives me nuts because you think about it, like it's not like Liverpool has been some unbeatable juggernaut over the last 10 years. Like they've finished behind Everton in some of these years that
They
Everton
have.
beaten them.
Yeah.
And but they've lost to basically everyone else. Like they've lost to Watford, they've lost multiple times to Burnley, and
Yep.
it's just they can't Everton's done basically every team except them. Like Everton's kicked the crap out of City and United a few times. Certainly Chelsea, certainly Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's time to keep it rolling. And if they can't do it this time, I don't know when they are. You know what I mean? Like this is the team. This is as good as Everton has looked in a long time. This is as confident as I think a lot of Evertonians are going to this game as they felt in a long time. Like, and this is probably the least amount of confidence you've seen from Liverpool fans going into this game in a while. Like,
Yeah.
there's a couple of, we have our own local thing to watch Nashville SC games, and there's a few Liverpool fans that go there, and they were like, "You guys are probably going to beat us," like, which I
Mm.
don't usually hear from Liverpool
Yeah.
fans. I usually make the joke that they've only been a fan for a couple of years, and they don't get to talk to me about the Everton Liverpool until they've lost one. So, um, it's it's a weird time, and knock on all the wood,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, this is the most confident I've been going in a while.
Yeah. Uh, I feel confident in the team. I do. I feel confident in the mindset. I'm not. I'm never going to be comfortable going into any game because I feel like the league is a strong league. Period. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you don't learn from the past, I just don't go into anything thinking it's a gimme. I don't.
Yeah,
It's just not my way.
even when
Um,
you haven't lost at home in a year and it's against the worst team in the league. Yeah, I
yes,
understand.
yes. There's, but I also have been really big on kind of trying to buck that that Everton that mentality and try not to think like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Trying to get past it in my own mind because I feel like it becomes a collective thing where everybody's sitting there. You know what I mean? Screw that. We got a team that's literally coming together, right? We signed a player like Alan. I mean, there's a friggin' pit bull. You know what I mean? Who's gonna give us and Decore. These are players that are gonna give us a different kind of mentality. James is world class,
yeah.
right?
Well, and
So
this, I think that the sort of collective thing goes into, the theory that Everton is playing better almost with empty stadiums.
mm,
Like, because I've seen this in a few times. I would disagree with this pretty wholeheartedly on the Liverpool match because I think Liverpool at Goodison brings out a different level of Goodison
yes, it
to where
does.
there are some pretty crap Everton teams that Liverpool couldn't beat at Goodison.
Yeah.
But on the inverse of that, we're all Evertonians.
Hmm.
We know how Evertonians get if things. It doesn't happen all the time. Things go a little bit
Yeah.
off kilter. Suddenly it's really hard to play in front of for the home team as opposed to the away team.
Yeah.
And so it's not without reservation that you look at those games like West Brom, where
Hmm.
you give up those two goals and you're like, is this more of the same if they're playing in front of fans, or is this the 5-2 team that we saw? So
Right.
I think that that's sort of an interesting X factor to think about.
Yeah.
Not having the fans and whether or not that's a positive or a negative. Now, as an Everton fan, it's obviously a negative, and the fans need to be there, and they do everything for the club. But it's in this whole mentality thing because
Hmm.
the talent's there. I think it's evident that the talent's there. It's about getting over these sort of mental humps that they've been getting over this year, and to come to pull out some of these results. Like, how can they keep that going?
Yeah. I mean, I did think it was super interesting that every single year the scheduling has been uh, the the Derby has been reversed. And then this year, where it was interesting the switching of it. that it's going to be at Goodison to start this season instead of at Sergio Ramos Stadium. So I guess it really is going to be. I'm really curious to see if they get fans when we play them next year. I'm not Mr. like conspiracy theory. I just think it's interesting. Just saying, it
The
isn't.
way things are going right now over there ain't gonna be fans for a long time in those stands.
Yeah,
They're
well,
they're in the same boat we're in, or we're about to be in, because we're allowing fans right now in the U.S. But who knows how much longer that's gonna last?
that's very true. Um, our lineup, I think we're still going to see Pickford start. Yeah. Um, Coleman, assuming he didn't end up with any injuries uh, playing for Ireland or being with the Irish team. Um, Keane, and whether or not we're going to see Mina, depending on his discomfort that he had. Because if we
I think we're
don't,
gonna see Mina.
I fingers, if not though, we see the appearance of young Godfrey, I think. Or if they don't feel like he's ready, they'll slide Luca Dean into that center back position the way they've done in the cup. You might see it.
Do not want.
Understood. I actually don't completely hate the idea because he's at least had more experience at that position, and that puts Nkunku on the left, and he's proven to be solid. I don't mind that plan. Um, I'll be really curious if Mina's not available, how that's
I
going to
just
work.
I don't want I want folks playing their natural positions against the front three that they're gonna be against.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not want that in any way whatsoever. If it happens, it happens. I mean, Liverpool's, they've gotten matchups that you think are kind to them that they've not been able to, come away with a win before when Everton's
Mm-hmm.
had these sort of weird lineups in the past. And I just, I would be shocked if it's not Mina, then it's not going to be Godfrey. But I have a feeling that this Mina thing is probably a knock, and
Mm-hmm.
he'll be fine.
Yeah. Uh, I continue to not know whether or not I prefer Dean there or Godfrey there. You know what I mean? Like if Mina's
Yeah.
not available, I don't know which one is a smarter pick. All I know is that Carlo has trusted Dean there in the past in the cup. Um, so anyway, but the assumption is Mina will be there. So yeah. Then we've got Alon, who will hopefully be back. Supposed to be Decore, Andre Gomez, um, and if no Andre Gomez, then we'll probably see Sigurdsson, right? Um, and then James DCL and Richarlison up front.
Yeah.
And I know last week we uh, had Jake who made the call that his Goodison Derby prediction was 3-1 Everton. I wanted to remind everybody of that. What's your prediction, Clay?
2-0.
2-0.
I'm gonna go DCL and Decore with a goal, and
Mm-hmm.
Pickford makes a wild save at some point.
Nice.
I think Pickford, the way Pickers is, like, wherever the narrative is, he does whatever the opposite is. So if he's playing well, he's going to give up a stupid goal.
Yeah.
If he's not playing well, he's going to be lights out.
Yeah.
And so he's not been playing well. So I'm going to assume he's going to be lights out.
I am gonna say 3-2. We get the win, and I think one of our goals will be Adrian. Just somebody. I think maybe Alan is gonna do that Crocodile Dundee thing, and
Yeah.
make him just literally fall down.
It is like it is interesting watching, because Lord knows I've watched the replay of them losing 7-2 multiple times, but the so many deflected goals in that game.
Yeah.
So it's just like maybe everyone just needs to be like just having a go. Pickford should take a shot. Whatever. Like just keep like just keep kicking it in the general direction and see if Adrian can handle it. Like, because I want to say, what, those 7 goals, 3 or 4 of them were just big deflections
hmm
that, like, is I wish that could happen with us once, and it's not like with
Well,
Aston Villa, like that should
and
have been
I've
our game where we just do that and we can talk about it for a decade.
see, I've never been much of an Adrian fan before he even signed with them. Like I didn't really like him before when he was playing for West Ham. So, and I'm very aware Pickford is also having the same type of mistakes that Adrian's having right now. So I want to I call them self awareness. It's not my name, but I call them self awareness FC all the time, and I'm pretty self aware. I'm aware our keeper's gonna probably have a brain fart or two when we play. That's cool. I
Not
just
this week.
I'm just hoping it's less.
We're
You
gonna
know.
see Tottenham Pickford, not Fleetwood Pickford.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Uh, but anyway, so that's a 3-1 from Jake. It's a 2-0 from you and a 3-2 from me. Uh, that's a wow. That's 3 wins predicted. That is a wave. That is a wave, friends. That is happening. All right, so that that wraps this up. That wraps up our show. We are completely finished because the Derby preview was the last thing we've got on the table. So uh, I just want to make sure I say, Clay, thanks so much. I want to make sure you have time. I want to plug all of the Nashville Evertonian stuff. I know you have a website and you've got your socials. So you want to rattle all that off real quick?
Nashville Evertonians on Facebook. We have a page and a group, so you can be in both. We also have Nashville_EFC on Twitter. We've been pretty active there. I'm going to brag on myself for one thing here. That Seamus Coleman clip that went viral of him telling off Kieran Gibbs,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
your
about.
boy.
No
I
way,
was the
really.
one who posted that. It went viral off of the Nashville EFC Twitter account. No one had posted the clip before I did. I got DMCA'd like 2 days later, but it already popped up everywhere else. So
Nice.
I'm taking a victory lap on that.
Congrats. I've never started anything. So congrats on that,
It
man.
was
I
wild. Like, I was getting texts from people because it was in like the Echo and whatnot.
yeah.
I couldn't believe no one saw it.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those things where I saw it Saturday night and I was like, oh, that's really funny. And then Sunday, I like looked to see if anyone had, and no one had posted it. And I
I
was
had
like, well,
never seen
cut
it.
it right now.
I had not seen it. I saw him yelling, but I didn't know what it was. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Crazy.
Nashville_EFC, just
Uh-huh.
throwing out there. Sometimes we break news and set a narrative. Um, And then I'm Clay Lassol on Twitter, as previously mentioned. And then you can also check out TennesseeToffees.com. That is our brand new website. I personally think it looks pretty slick because I'm going to pat myself on the back for it. But for the folks that may not be, closer to Nashville, you can sign up for a premium membership there. You can also sign up for a free membership there. We do have a handful of folks that we've got a couple that drives in from Huntsville, Alabama that are premium members, and
Nice.
that's a 90-minute drive.
Very
They
cool.
come in.
Yeah.
They're going to be there, I think, on Saturday, so they're leaving like super early in the morning. So yeah, we try and pull from our little pocket in the southeast. So that's all my plugs.
Okay, and you're gonna have to make sure give give old Jose Baxter a little bump and an
Jose
elbow. Jose,
Jose Baxter, yeah.
Jose Baxter. Give him a little something for me, because that's I'm assuming he's gonna show up. Do me a favor, tell Alistair Johnson what's up with
Oh, he's awesome.
dude. He's from
Such a
Wake
good player.
Forest. He's from Wake Forest, and if you
Yeah,
have any idea how good he was with the kids around here,
yeah.
like he's like my kids absolutely
Yeah,
love
well, he
Alistair.
looks the same
So
age as them, so it makes sense.
does look young.
Yeah. He got a red card suspension last game, crazily enough, but like,
Oh,
it was bad luck. But he's great. He's great. That dude is going to be in Europe in 2 or 3 years, guaranteed.
love that guy, and he's a college product. He was a transfer in from St. John's Johnson. I think he's originally from Canada.
Yeah, he's going to
Uh,
be a Canadian national. He might be when it's all said and done on the same back line with old Alfonso Davies.
that'd be crazy. That's so
Yeah,
funny. Yeah, but he's just a super good guy. So yeah, definitely keep him safe for us. Very cool. I should do a little Toffee Blues pub here. Toffee Blues website. You should check that out. All things Everton. Lots of content. You see a lot of people contributing here on the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. A lot of them are writing stories. We're doing content, so check that out. If you haven't subscribed already to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, please do so. It just all it really does is make us feel like super good. Be like, look at that number growing. Yeah, and the fact that we are climbing close to 7,000 is an absurd thing to me, and I cannot get over it. And all the Toffee Blues guys have been the ones putting in the time and just kicking ass on that. So yeah, and Toffee Blues John, you're doing it, dude. So yeah, and check out the Toffee Blues on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I think I'm done with the plugging. I'm catching all kinds of hurry up Gerry looks from my wife from the other side of the room, so I should probably go. Uh, I do want to make sure, Clay. Thanks so much. It's good to talk to you in person and not just sit there and know you from Twitter and be like, oh, that guy. It's really cool to actually talk to you. The guy's got a ton of U.S. soccer stories, and yeah, it's awesome. So thanks so much for it, man, and sharing everything. And love to have you back on again sometime, man.
Yeah, just let me know. It's no problem. And then you just have to make sure that whenever people are allowed to be out and about again, you come down here for a Nashville match.
Oh, it'd be so fun. I'd absolutely love to. Oh man, and honestly, just to hang out in Nashville at all. Never been
Yeah,
there. Told you. So I need to figure out what that place is about. So yeah, you'll have to give me the tour. Right on.
absolutely.
All right. Well, you take care. Thanks so much, man. And yeah, everybody else out there, is just another game this weekend, right? I can't convince myself of that. All right. UTFT, let's do this. Let's get the 3 points. And yeah, speed up on them. It's about time. All right. Much love to everybody. Have a good one. Bye.